Good morning, yet again. My name is Frank Reynolds. In case you haven't viewed any of the other video clips in the Opening to Utter Totality YouTube channel, where this is posted. And I'm the founder and sole proprietor, which always seems to amuse me, of Opening to Utter Totality. And the prime purpose or focus at this point of Opening to Utter Totality is to organize and support Zoom groups, which haven't started yet, as of late June 2023 when I'm making this, but are slated to start running later this year, probably in the fall. So we will run Opening to Utter Totality Zoom groups, and as I've mentioned repeatedly in other videos, Opening to Utter Totality makes the acronym OUT, O-U-T, and so sometimes I'll use shorthand and refer to OUT or OUT groups, but I'm not talking about any of the other potential denotations or connotations of that word, just using it as an abbreviation, shorthand for Opening to Utter Totality. Now, this particular clip I will strongly urge you, if you haven't done so already, to view the video I made most recently before this one, which is titled A Torch for Terry. And obviously I can't impose this as a requirement on anybody, or maybe I could find some technical way to do it, but I'm not interested. So for your benefit and edification, it's a strong request and suggestion that you view that clip, A Torch for Terry, first. It is long, so, but you can eat breakfast while you're watching it, and you can watch it in, spoonfuls, as to go along with your spoonfuls of cereal. And so I hope you will, if you haven't watched that, exit out of this now, watch that, and then come back and watch this, because this really is, in many respects, an epilogue to that clip. And as you've noticed, the title of this clip is The Secret of Happiness. Which I can't imagine anyone has ever heard of before. So, The Secret of Happiness. And The reason that it goes along with the aforementioned A Torch for Terry clip is that Terry, many, many years ago, transmitted formally and somewhat ceremonially transmitted to me the secret of happiness. So that's at its heart what this clip is about. And at the end, please don't fast forward because you will thereby totally undercut any potential power and benefit of this transmission. If you go to the end, oh, I want to get the goodies, and you go to the end, and because the transmission, or at least the spark or catalyst for the transmission, is verbal in spoken words. So, um, so you could go and just get the words and then uh, go blah, blah, blah all over the place about it and make jokes about it. And that would, from my vantage point, be very sad. Now, Terry transmitted The Secret of Happiness to me on a completely individual basis. And never to my knowledge did she get in front of a group and transmit The Secret of Happiness. And I don't quite honestly know to who else she transmitted it, if anyone. I know that once she transmitted it and it became mine by virtue of inheriting it from her. I've certainly had the urge to transmit it, share it and have done so from time to time in the way that Terry transmitted it to me as best I can. Replicated that. I put a little more formality on it when I transmitted individually, but essentially I tried to honor the way that I received it and pass this heirloom along undamaged. I never, up until this point, imagined that I would ever communicate this in a public way, such as by this video. I've done it only individually, closely held, preserved sort of the secrecy of it, and you'll hear the kind of how the methodology does that. And yet, I'm offering it here through a very different methodology, and one that I can't control in the sense of having recipients agree to certain things beforehand, as I have done when I've transmitted it individually. So I'm taking a big leap, but if I didn't feel okay about that, I wouldn't be doing this. The reason I happen to be doing it at this time, particularly at this time of year, is that tomorrow, is probably when this this clip will have finished uploading to YouTube and be available in the Opening to Utter Totality channel. Tomorrow is June 21st, the summer solstice, the longest day of the year. And as I mentioned, uh, it also was Terry's birthday and is my birthday. Although we weren't born in the same year. Terry was born June 21st, 1946, and I was born June 21st, 1947. But I think probably that the timing is the final nudge for me to um, share this at this time, just as it was a nudge for me to share the Terry's story, A Torch for Terry, the other video, because coming up on my birthday, even though she died almost 50 years ago, I'm always reminded that I'm also coming up on Terry's birthday. Now, here's the way Terry transmitted the secret to me. She, and I want to frame this by saying the secret is lighthearted, brighthearted, but is not a joke. Now, it could be taken as a joke. Uh, somebody could you know, put it down or look at it in a demeaning or dismissive way and or make it into a joke. But that would be to their own detriment. And so I hope people generally won't do that, or blather it around as, oh yeah, I watched the video and this guy said blah is the secret. So she so at one point, fairly early on in our friendship, but before we were romantically involved, 1970, this would have been in Manhattan, Carrie told me that she had discovered the secret of happiness. Now, Carrie, as people commonly characterize themselves these days as spiritual but not religious, I experienced Terry, or being with Terry, as powerfully spiritual, uh, but not religious in that she didn't trot out any kind of dogma or party line from Christianity or any other quarter. She was raised Catholic, and although she was no longer a church-going Catholic, I think because the the church hierarchy and patriarchy became off-putting for her, but she had a heart connection with Christ, and that it was somehow there from her Catholic upbringing, there was a uh, lamp on the altar of her heart and a glow, uh, but it was not never expressed. It was expressed in the way she lived and communicated generally, rather than any kind of um, religious uh, talk or statements of belief or whatever. And and she and I was not a Buddhist then, uh, but I probably had some leanings I definitely had some leanings as of 1970, but I hadn't really done anything about them, nor had I. Wait, this finger here. I'm trying to make this point at this picture on the wall behind me of a formal shrine photo of Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche in his yellow robe with what's often referred to as the Maha Sukha smile, or a smile of great joy. Maha Sukha means great joy. Um, I had not discovered his teachings or him, and was far from and doing any practices in his lineage, which I did later on, came to do later on. So uh, spiritual but not religious, and but it did, and we were also that was a phase of life, particularly in the craziness of the early 1970s and the counterculture and the uh, insane Vietnam War running in the background, and possibility for young American men of being conscripted into the army and forced to fight in the war, regardless of how you felt about the war, etc. Anyway, general craziness on top of the inherent craziness of transitioning into adulthood from college and having to become a so-called independent adult. So therefore, it was a fruitful time in terms of the willingness, the way one often can as a child, to ask big questions. There's a practice done in Zen, certain Zen schools, where the students constantly experiencing their their live present experience and going, what is this? What is this? What is this meaning? Not meaning, what's this object in my hand, a coffee cup, but what is this altogether? What is life altogether? Who am I? All that. Cheers. So, okay, so context of being at that age, our early 20s. Terry was 24, became 24 that year. I became 23 on the summer solstice in 1970. So anyway, so she tells me that she's discovered the secret of happiness, and then kind of lightly laughs. And of course, uh, if I hear about something that interests me, I got to know, so naturally, she didn't have to wait 30 seconds for me to start asking her to tell me the secret happiness. And she stuck to her guns and she said, no, not now. I will communicate it to you in due time, at the proper time. So the first thing was I was going to have to wait. So as I described in the earlier video, prior chapters that were in the Terry saga, Terry's and my relationship was the level of contact, the pattern of contact and proximity to one another uh, was the complete opposite of the traditional pattern of meeting a romantic partner, seeing them once in a while at first, and then over time, spending more and more time together, and eventually moving in together, getting married, and the full catastrophe for for with luck and supporting karma, staying together harmoniously for a few decades, maybe. So we were around each other the most when we first met because we were living a few blocks away from each other in Manhattan with a set of common friends and who we socialized with almost entirely. So before we were even involved, we saw each other more and hung out together more than we did thereafter, because after we did get involved in 1970, for a variety of reasons, I didn't stay in Manhattan. I went west to Colorado. Terry did stay in Manhattan. So we got geographically further and further apart. And we didn't, after I left for the West to hitchhike to Colorado in the fall of 1970, or late summer, I guess it was, of 1970, early fall, September, I can't remember exactly. But so then it would be 4 years before Terry and I would get together again. And yeah, I described in the Torch for Terry, I described the reunion as quite marvelous. And truly it was. And then finally, a few months later, so we had that reunion, as you'll recall, in central New York, in the Finger Lakes region of central New York. Actually at a hotel on one of the Finger Lakes, 1974. And then I returned to Boston, where I was living then. Terry went back to Tucson, where she was living and working. And a few months later, very end of February 1975, Terry died. She was, as I described, she was killed instantly in a motorcycle accident under the turquoise Tucson sky. And so because I ended up deciding at the end of the summer of 1970 to move away from Manhattan and um, hold Terry in my heart, but not in my arms, obviously, for a while. Uh, it, it, I used to bug her at first, like, "Oh, when are you going to tell me the secret of happiness?" And but after a few months, and she with her sticking to her guns and principles, I stopped bugging her. And so by the time that I left for the West, I'd kind of forgotten about it. I'm thinking, well, why didn't I why didn't I insist as a going away present that she give me the secret of happiness? I just didn't. And it was apparently it had gone to the back of both of our minds. However, during that wonderful rendezvous 4 years later, uh, Terry, I guess it was, remembered that she had made this promise to me. And so she did then transmit the secret of happiness. And a couple other things uh, that Terry sort of nailed into me in terms of these things, like stuck with me as key points in her absence, was, as I mentioned before, one time early in our relationship, we were walking around Times Square, seedy old Times Square in Manhattan, not the Disneyfied Giuliani Times Square of later decades, um, and the creep show Times Square. And Terry uh, took a hold of me metaphorically, if not, I don't recall that she literally grabbed my arm or sleeve, but she said, uh, just stopped us walking down the street and said, "Look, look." And she wasn't telling me to look at any one particular thing. She said, "Everything is here for us to see, or for you to see. Look." Uh, so, you could elaborate on that, and many people have, in terms of be aware, be present, meditate, da 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 da. But boom, look. And that was Terry. Attention. And then another time, she said, "Never forget to set a place," meaning like at mealtime at the table. Never forget to set, but also meaning, a lot of times with her, there would be a literal meaning, and then there would be a implication beyond that, more general, pointing at something that maybe couldn't be directly or fully expressed in words. Never forget to set a place for your guardian angel. And I found that, when I drew her out on that a little bit, she meant that literally, and she would do it literally. And so I started knocking off that habit, at least occasionally. And so, uh, yeah, I seldom do that anymore. But now that I mention it, I will, unless I space out on it, I will certainly do it tomorrow, which is my 76th birthday and would have been Terry's 77th birthday. So I'll set a place for my guardian angel, particularly since after Terry's death, my guardian angel had a name and a face. So uh, I don't, I'm not expecting any shimmering spirit visits or anything. It's just, it'll happen physically on my dining table, and then it'll happen in my heart. But I'm not expecting any emanations. So anyway, so that was the other thing. Set a place for your guardian angel. So Terry left with me, along with numerous other fond memories that I won't regale you with. So as a preamble to transmitting to you the secret of happiness, I'm going to earnestly request that you handle this secret as a rare and precious treasure. And I'm going to tell you the restrictions that I could impose on. I did have imposed on people to whom I've individually transmitted the secret. And ask that you handle it this way. But, I'm not, we're not even communicating directly. You're not communicating back to me. And so it's totally up to you. You can denigrate it, trash it, whatever, if you're so inclined. But I'd really ask that you treat this with a great deal of respect. Now, there may be an inclination to think, oh, well, I'm going to hear, you get the idea of this, there's going to be a transmission in words of the secret. Oh, I'm going to hear some amazing thing that I've never heard before. In other words, some mind-blowing whatever. And to have very high expectations for what the literal transmission is going to involve. So, what I was trying to get at, so some guy appears on your screen and says, I'm going to transmit the secret of happiness. And one could frame an expectation that that would amount to some sort of aha, oh wow moment. And maybe some people will have that experience. I don't know. I didn't. When I heard The Secret of Happiness, it was uh, much more subtle and low key than that. Um, but anyway, so you couldn't be blamed if you had an expectation of you're going to have a yeah aha moment and then carry some amazing uh, slogan around that you could trot out and give the appearance of being profoundly wise or whatever. Well, and then so you hang on a little bit longer with this, and you have the transmission, and your reaction may be a kind of meh, like what? That's it, Um, so you may have that reaction, and with any given person, I can't know how they're going to receive the secret. So what I ask people is, if you have that kind of so what reaction when you hear it, that's fine, but don't rub that into yourself or into your own mind. Um, just go on about your business and don't worry about it and be a little disappointed or whatever. Um, because if you're there, go around and tell friends, well, I got sucked into this to this bullshit thing of, I'm not any happier than I was before I heard this, or whatever. You're gonna, there's no chance, I don't think then, of anything positive uh, coming from this. Whereas it does, I feel, have positive potential. And probably my favorite analogy for this secret, especially since it's so short, terse, is that it's like a seed. It's like a little seed. And it's somewhat inconspicuous and innocuous in and of itself. And you could easily just sweep it into the trash or whatever. Uh, but if a seed falls on fertile ground and is watered occasionally and nurtured and has some sunlight shined on it, all of which is metaphorical in terms of uh, this being in your mind stream after you hear it, and kind of what I would urge you to do afterwards, if you are able to maintain at least a neutral wait see attitude toward the secret, is just come back and check the seedling from time to time. As you would a little plant you just bought, and that could become a bush or a tree or a big gorgeous flower at some point, but it's but it's just this little scrubby plant to begin with. So you come and check the seedling from time to time. And in that process, there may be some gentle kind of aha moments where, oh, this means something more and different than what I understood it or didn't understand it to mean at first. So give it a chance. Please don't denigrate it, even if it never really takes hold with you. So don't feel bad if it doesn't take hold, change your life, and make you a huge mater- the huge material success or something, don't burden it with any of that. Just see what happens. Uh, be gentle with it and see what happens over time. So and then I think this is the last request I would make of you regarding the handling of the secret, which is, I suppose, a little weird now that I'm putting it in a video, because this would make more sense if you imagine that it's being individually transmitted to you and only you, the way that Terry transmitted it to me individually. So the request is that if once you have the secret, it's yours. It's not hard to remember. So I think you're going to remember it. It's yours. And as with inherited wealth or something, you can then bequeath it, regift it to whoever you want. But please don't bandy it about and make it what they call milk in the marketplace. If you're going to transmit it to somebody individually, please transmit it in the way that Terry did with me, which is to ask the person if they would like to receive it, and inform them that there will be a waiting period until they receive it if they say they do want to receive it, and then have them wait. And I mean wait, not a week or something, but a period of time. It doesn't have to be 4 years the way it was with me, but few months, I would say. And because that in a one-to-one transmission, the waiting and the anticipation and the wondering and so on is a way of sort of, we go back to the seed analogy, it's a way of tilling and softening and fertilizing and preparing the ground for the seed to take root, grow, and flourish eventually. So, please don't just chat about it at cocktail parties and laugh about it. And but I can't. I don't employ any private detectives or secret agents to work on my behalf and track these things. So taking a chance that, especially because it means so much to me and came from a person who meant so much to me, that if you would, I would be very grateful if you would respect that. And I'm hopeful that this will be of benefit to you. Now, the gentleman on the wall behind me said an interesting thing about happiness. He said to students, uh, of his Buddhist lineage, to whom he was transmitting or trying to transmit wisdom in a, somewhat different and more thorough, ongoing way than I am with this little quick thing. He said it's not about something, words to the effect that it's not about being happy. It's much more interesting than that. And there's also in the Tibetan, a Tibetan spiritual slogan, always maintain only a joyful mind. But that can that can that can grow over time too. But so the secret of happiness, with due deference to Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, is not putting it forward as a ticket to some shining city called Happinessville, um, that where everybody is individually uh, having having pleasure all the time and grinning from ear to ear, anything like that. So the term is happiness, uh, and I like it. I like it the way Terry served it to me. But it has what I found as this little seed has grown in my garden. Is it sort of really has more to do with uh, uh, ongoing sense of joy and the sense of uh, great joy. I can't quite. The image is backwards on my screen, so I'm trying to these odd gestures are me trying to uh, make it natural as I point. Um, so it's um, great joy. Mahasukha is uh, a sense of fundamental, pervasive, uh, indestructible, one could almost say, well-being, rather than perpetual delight or pleasure or whatever. All right. So I've given you, I guess, at least a taste of waiting for the secret of happiness. And so the last thing I'll mention about this that takes care of itself, given that this is coming to you, not coming to you live, but by video, so it takes care of itself. But when I have transmitted the secret live to an individual, if it's somebody I'm visiting and then we're going to go our separate ways afterwards, that I do the transmission the last thing before I leave, and I have the understanding with the recipient that they will not ask any questions about it afterwards, immediately afterwards. And but just the transmission, that's it. Now you can't ask questions of me anyway because we're not sitting in the same room. But and so somebody I transmitted to, we can talk afterwards. But it's really important to me that that the person not start working this simple secret intellectually or conceptually, because where it grows and where it bears ultimate fruit is beyond uh, conventional consciousness, intellect, uh, thinking mind, all of that. So therefore, I ask people not to ask me questions about it uh, right afterwards, not because I want them to be frustrated, but because I don't want them to get their intellectual machinery cranky immediately after receiving this, and to take it and start working it and massaging it conceptually, but just to receive it. So um, what would the equivalent be with this transmission format that I'm doing today? Will it be just, you know, just hear it and then go about your business? And above all, please don't, just sit down with your spouse, partner, best friend, or postal delivery person and start talking about it or musing about it or asking them what they think or whatever. Please just uh, just let the seed uh, just let the seed fall gently to the ground and leave it there. So here we go. Oh no, I did think of one other thing, which is that when Terry transmitted The Secret originally to me in 1974, she said, "The secret of happiness is," she was smiling lightly, uh, and then she spoke it, and then she had a little sort of laugh or chuckle almost to herself. Not like, you know, not like you're laughing at your own joke or something, which just put one over on somebody, but just that it's just has amusing ramifications. And as I say, it's lighthearted, but it isn't a joke. But you've got to find that out for yourself. Uh, and unfortunately, probably there are some percentage of viewers will think that this is a joke or uh, just some peripheral distraction, and that they won't think anything more about it, do anything with it. So I hope that's not the case for you. Okay. So the secret of happiness is be happy. So with that, I'll sign off as I often do in these opening to utter totality videos. by wishing you good luck and great good fortune. Till next time.